your question, Todd?
Yeah, the question, just testimonies of how what's happening in your coaching work.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm not currently doing any coaching. I'll share an opposite to that.
Okay.
I am at our Bible study so I'm in Germany, for those who don't, we're Americans living in Germany. And the Bible study that I'm in, I counted, there were 9 other ladies other than myself. And we were talking about poor in spirit, the Beatitudes. And so they were trying to find peace, like acknowledging, yes, we're poor in spirit and we need Jesus, but trying to find his peace amongst the chaos of just children and, just life and living in another country, like we're all Americans living in Germany. And I was like, oh, well, like, I've been able to encounter Jesus and actually feel have the desire to have peace with none of my surroundings changing and almost coming out of it joyful. And they all looked at me like I was a crazy person. And I was like, has no one else, even if it's not encounter coaching specific, felt the peace? No one else has ever felt the peace of God without their circumstances changing. And I was like, Lord, what are you doing with me in here in this group? Like, just the opportunity to be able to say, if you didn't know it exists, it does. And this can happen for you. Like, this is not the time and space to be doing that right now, but please come talk to me. I was appalled in a good way to know that there's actually a solution for these people. And I'm like, how long have you been living your life not having this? So, like, what a gift that I can just shed some light on this for people. So, like, it makes me really excited.
Yeah, that is exciting. Good stuff. Well, this is cool. We've got I see Nick in Montenegro, Germany, Riyadh, Norway, England, and a handful of us in America, various places. Very cool. Love it. I'll tell you what, we'll get started here. So what we're going to do today, and this is going to be we want to build a rhythm of getting together on a regular basis, and to invite those who have invested a lot of their time and energy with us in terms of building the skills of encounter coaching, so that we can continue to just grow together. And so we're looking at probably doing this once a month, probably the same day, maybe the first Wednesday of each month. And to come together, we're going to record these so that we can share it for those who aren't able to make it. But as a kickoff meeting, we're going to invite Tony to share a bit of his vision for MetaFormation, talk a little bit about our values and things. I'll share a little bit, just briefly, about some of our near-term goals with respect to what we'd like to do as we're continually looking to improve what we do and how we can, and ultimately what we want to do is build world-class encounter coaches so we can change the world with Jesus. And as we're coming together, so we'll share a bit about that, but then we want to hear from you. And so at about 1:30, we're going to do a breakout room. We'll break us up into about 3 groups. And then you can begin thinking about these questions of, we want to hear a little bit about how you're using encounter coaching today. What's your vision or goal with encounter coaching? What's your dream? What types of conversations, what kind of people and problems, people you want to influence, problems that you want to help solve with Jesus through this. And then importantly, what additional support or training would help you in helping you achieve your goals, because we want to hear that from you. And then we'll kind of close out with just talking a little bit about some of the new initiatives and things that we've got planned for later this year and into next year. So that's our agenda. We're going to do that in about an hour. With that, I'm going to hand it off to Tony.
All right. Well, Todd asked me to start with a question for Jesus, so I'm inspired by that. She just dropped off my screen.
Alina.
What was Alina, what you shared about your small group. And my question is, so Jesus, how How am I valuable with what I know about how to meet you? How am I valuable because of what I know about how to meet you? So take a moment and just jot down what have you heard or saw or sensed.
Yeah, you can put it in the chat
Oh, okay.
too.
Let me just hear from a couple of you verbally. What did Jesus say to you that was significant?
So I heard very quickly, I heard the word transitions. And then followed up, he said, transitions are a scary place for many people, but you've consistently walked out many transitions with me. And so I want to walk with you in helping others through transitions.
Good. How does that impact you to hear that?
That's like spot on because I'm in a crazy transition at the moment. And I absolutely need to kind of process distill this one, because it just feels big. It's big because I think my husband and I are not in agreement on this one, and we've never not been in agreement. So
Oh.
it's a big one. But I'm excited that he's with me. So does that mean he's on my side? We'll see. So that just touches my heart in a way that helps me know again that he's with me.
Somebody else? Go ahead, Kara.
I got a picture of just being a maintenance person in a building, because it's very background, and I feel like I have a set of keys, a set of skills that really keeps the whole building running. But that maintenance person, you don't think about them. You don't think about the janitor or the handyman person.
Right.
But they've got keys that get you where you need to go when you forgot something or you need something, or people really rely on them. And so that's the picture that I had, just of a maintenance person with a set of keys.
Awesome. One more?
Yeah, Tony, I was as I was thinking about it, and as I listened to these two ladies share, what kind of was bringing to my mind was a verse that's been very important to me from Daniel chapter 12. And I don't have it memorized right, but talks about those who lead many to righteousness will shine as the stars forever and ever. Talking about the value of helping people embrace God's perspective. And that just grabbed me.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, I'm thinking from what you and Jim and Kara shared, just as a coach, most of your work's going to be in the background. Most people won't know about it. The impact of what you do, if you coach a leader, the impact of what you do will be through that person's leadership, but nobody will know other than the leader what you did. But God has so designed the body so that the unpresentable parts, the parts that aren't up front, are worthy of greater honor. And I believe the way this works in heaven is that God rewards you based on your contribution, not on the public knowledge of your contribution. So the people you influence, the people you help, you will share in the reward of everything that they do in heaven, because you've been a part of their lives and a part of their journey. So you may spend a lot of your coaching time sitting in a room by yourself. But when you get to heaven, you're going to meet all these people that you've touched and you never knew, and they never knew until they got there. So it's good always, because society is so geared toward honoring the presentable parts, the people that are on stage, the people that are famous, the whatever, that God's economy is set up to make up for that in heaven. And you're going to be honored and known for your full contribution there. So anyway, that's one of the things that inspires me as I sit in a room and write and never meet most of the people. 99% of the people that read something I wrote, I've never met. But yet that spreads out through the world, and your work is going to spread out through the world. So, yeah, that's part of what, for me, sort of animates the whole LM vision is that Jesus chose, in the temptation in the wilderness, one of the temptations, throw yourself off the temple, the angels will catch you, float down, make a big spectacle. And Jesus considered that as a possible path to getting his mission done, and he rejected it. And I think he rejected it because spectacles make crowds, but they don't make family. They don't make people who love each other. They don't make community. And so Jesus chose a smaller, I'm going to work with 12 guys, and they're going to be the ones that spread it. And so that idea of multiplication of the heart and not just of the message is kind of what started LM. And the original dream that still carries on is to transform people who will bring it into their sphere of influence, so that it's more than just I coach somebody and I help them, but I coach somebody and they influence a bunch of other people. And hopefully eventually they take things that they learned from me and start doing them. So in our mission statement, it talks about training 100,000 people. And my goal in that is that those 100,000 would touch a whole bunch more. And that through that one by one multiplication, we'd touch a lot of people. Todd just asked me to talk about what the heart of this thing was, so I'm going to ramble a little bit. Feel free and ask questions if you want to. So I'm just sort of talking about where my passion for this came from and what I tried to put in the organization. One of the things that was part of my dream from the beginning was that LM would have real community in it. I've been a part of a number of apostolic networks or church networks, and what tends to happen is people coalesce around a person. And the more the person has to offer, the more people coalesce around them. and very, very rapidly, the network becomes something where people join because of a dream of fellowship and support that they can't have because their dream was fellowship and support from one leader. So when we originally designed LM, like for the trainers, the idea was you join as part of a cohort and you have people who support you as you go. And somebody knows what you're doing, somebody talks to you regularly, you have people who are in the same profession who you're accountable to. So one of the challenges of coaching is it tends to attract people who are really good at helping people but can't market themselves out of a paper bag. And so it's a profession that attracts team people. It attracts people who like to support and help other people, but yet it's a very individual profession. And so bringing that connection into it, most coaches, I don't think, will succeed without community. They need the support of other people because there's a part of it that involves doing stuff that you don't like to do. And without other people helping you, you just won't get it done. So that was part of my dream for LM from the beginning. I think another part of this dream that I really didn't start talking about until a ways into it, it was sort of there in my heart, but I never really articulated it, was most Christian coaching out there is secular coaching with a Christian value system. In other words, they're using the exact same tools as the people in the world in the exact same way. It's just that they have values. And one of the things I wanted to do was create a uniquely Christian methodology. If Jesus is real and powerful, then incorporating Jesus into the coaching conversation should produce better results than just plain old whatever without him. And I didn't think we as a movement were doing that. Coaching with Christian principles didn't seem to me to be much more powerful than regular old coaching. So part of the desire in this was that people actually meet God, and that we, especially as you get older in life, it's easy to sort of fall into this thing where you live toward God, but you don't really, how do I say this? It's almost like God becomes a principle instead of a person, that you're sort of going along in the Christian world, but God as God doesn't really break into it. And so part of the heart of this is saying, like with questions of Jesus, we're going to put God at the center of this. We're going to have God show up. If God doesn't show up, it's not going to work. We're not going to just settle for living Christian principles out of our heads without seeing the power of God to touch people go with it. So that risk, like the first time that I did Living from the Heart, I had never done the story thing before, rewriting your story from heaven's perspective. And I just had this idea that I could do this. And so the first workshop I did this, 30 people showed up. So I wrote 30 stories on the idea that I could do this not having done it before. So it was a big risk. And God really showed up in, like, I got in this state where for a month or two, I could ask God any question I could think of about heaven, and I got an answer. And I think a lot of that came from the risk of saying, I'm going to believe that we can touch heaven and actually bring something supernatural into your life story that makes it make sense beyond what I know and what my abilities are as a coach, that God is going to move. So that part of Living from the Heart is another part of that risk of saying God is not just a principle, he's a real God. He wants to meet you. He speaks into your story. We can't do this if he doesn't show up. So that's important to me. And part of your legacy as coaches is A lot of Christian coaching is really weak on that. We could, if God didn't show up, we could do it anyway, just based on our skills and our techniques and our abilities. And I wanted you to carry something more than that, that you serve a real God who really talks to you, who really shows up on your behalf. Yeah. So that was part of my heart for MetaFormation. Do you guys have any questions or any comments on that? Do you like it?
Love it. Love it. I'm so excited as I'm hearing you talk because I've been in the group environments where the whole goal was to multiply their message, to they may call it like their DNA. And I've been a part of a church of 5,000 plus, growing since then. This was Texas, so nothing small.
Right.
And to be a coach, they had coaches, but not in this training. And your job as a coach was to stamp out the leadership above you into the other people. So it was supposed to replicate their opinions, their thoughts, and what they knew was right about this walk of ours with God. And when I presented the leadership of this with the idea that, no, we should go to see what God is doing in the person and draw that out, that's way too messy. There's no way. I'll go down all kinds of avenues. We can't control that. And so hearing you talk about community and letting the Holy Spirit come and meet these people and training people to facilitate that meeting, well, it could just go anywhere, Tony.
Yeah.
You have no control over that.
Yeah.
But it's trusting, and it's trusting in God, and I'm super excited about it. Yeah.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah, I agree with you, Kara, 100%. And for me, the basis of everything for me is one encounter with Jesus changes everything. And it's like if we can get people to just create that space for them to be able to encounter it's so powerful. And I received one of those letters from you, Tony, and I don't know if you remember, but it was called The Great Joke. And you even came to me afterwards and said, was that okay? And it literally changed my life. It changed the perspective that I had. And so all of that. And one of the things that the Lord keeps telling me in training is, the fear, the insecurity and all of that kind of stuff. And he keeps saying, you are a powerful encounter coach because you have powerful encounters with me. And that comes back to that place of first with me, because if I don't walk in there knowing that he's good and we get to dance together. And that's what for me, the whole thing is. And it's so beautiful. It is just a beautiful dance. So I want to say thank you for everything that you've done that has literally changed the trajectory of my life. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Can I talk? Is it okay?
Sure.
I've been using your
Sure.
books for years. And I teach a class where how to intentionally partner with God for transformation, how to know where you're at in the process and to intentionally partner with him. But we pretty much create an atmosphere where we're choosing to believe and we're showing up, but it's pretty much felt like the cripple by the pool of Bethsaida. Is that how you say it? I always get Bethesda and Bethsaida, and I don't know which is which one. Anyway, and we're waiting for him to show up. And inner healing was good, but it takes like so long. But this was like the cherry on top of the big sundae. And being able to just dive right in 5 to 10 minutes, get insight from God directly into where we're at in process and what he's doing has been like, it's lifted the whole program up on steroids. It's so beautiful. I mean, and I'm still really stumbly-bumbly about it, but it is, I mean, it's so beautiful to watch how he takes people so far in just a word. And to be able to intentionally call that communication into, it doesn't take 2 hours. It doesn't take weeks. It's like 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Like, I love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm amazed with how many people in the body don't know that they're hearing God or don't know how to. And when I've led the small group, I just have people that have told me again and again and again, it transformed their lives to be able to hear from him. I had one girl tell me one time, I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm asking Jesus questions.
Yeah. And there's something, how do I say this? Let me try and you can help me, but like, I grew up in a church where things were fairly programmed. I grew up in a Quaker church, which is supposed to be the most unprogrammed, whatever. We were still pretty much programmed. But the thing of believing that people can come up with their own answers. For me, I spent 15 years as a furniture designer where it was my job to draw people's dreams out of them. And all that preparation, and then I spent another 15 years as a coach believing in people and intentionally and teaching people to believe in people. Then to come to the point of saying, I believe these people can hear God in a minute and I don't have to control or direct or, that he will give the solution. That took 30 years of my life to make that transition. And it's once you hear about it and you're exposed to it, it's not that hard of a leap. But to come at it completely from scratch with nobody I can look at and say, oh, that's what you do, took most of a lifetime. So, when you talk about people don't know how to meet God or hear him, yes, but you have the privilege of, you carry a faith. It's a faith thing. If you ask a question for Jesus, you have to believe that God shows up. And what happens is the more you believe it, the more relaxed you get about the process. And the hyperness about hearing God is what keeps people from hearing God. It's so tense and so hard. And we've done some things that, like asking about the relationship instead of the business makes it far easier. But the key to it is just that you believe and that you've come into an inheritance of people who've worked through that whole process of coming to belief and are able to pass it on to you much more quickly. And so you now have that same gift that you've come into an inheritance of faith. And because you carry the inheritance, you're able to pass it on really quickly to other people. So we don't want to minimize for people that grew up in an environment where nobody was talking about this. This is an enormous leap, and there's no no wonder they're not there. But if those same people get an environment of faith, for a couple coaching sessions with you where you just believe this and it's every day and whatever, and we're just going to do it, that will all rub off on them. And that's the beauty of this kind of thing, is it's something people can catch very quickly that has an enormous investment behind making it easy to catch. So you carry something that's really powerful. It has a big inheritance behind it. So we don't denigrate the people that can't hear. It's like, shoot, if you grew up in my church, nobody heard anything. And we even had a time in our service in the Quaker church every week to hear from God, where we were silent and God was supposed to speak to us. We called it the quiet time because God never said anything. Literally. That's what I grew up with. So just don't lose the wonder and the sense of inheritance, that I can ask God a question and in a minute I can have an answer that touches my heart, and that I have this power that I can give to people who would never get there on their own. Who've gone through 20 or 30 years of life maybe never hearing God's voice. I was talking to a guy at our church, and we were having a potluck, and I happened to be talking to one of the worship leaders, and he was talking about how he was getting in touch with his need to be doing something at every minute of his life. And at one point in the conversation, he asked for any help that I had, and so I gave him a question for Jesus. I said, well, just tell you what, ask Jesus, what do you like about me? The most basic question that we have. And he thought for a moment, and he said, I'm not sure I want to know the answer to that question.
Wow.
And there's the biggest issue probably in his life, is that he doesn't love himself.
Wow.
And I came out in the first question. And then we did the question, and he wasn't sure he heard. And so I said, well, that sounds like Jesus. And then we did another one. And by about the third one, he's hearing. But it's so powerful, and it's so easy, and
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. Let's do this. I want to make sure we have time because we want to hear back from you. Let me just share a little bit about some of our goals, and then, taking what Tony shared in terms of the vision of, developing 100,000 leaders by 2040 to do this. And that's a big goal, big vision. And so how do we break that down? In a sense, how do we eat this apple? We could try to eat it one bite, but that's not going to work. So what's the first bite? And as our team have come together, we said, let's build 1,000 really high quality coaches, train them, invest in them, build a strong community, and help 1,000 coaches get really good at this. Because to grow, it's not so much through fancy marketing things, it's through relationship. And because coaching is all about relationship. And I know as our coaches are coaching people with Jesus, and they have these unbelievable encounters with him, they want to talk about it. They want to share it with others, and it's like, I want to learn how to do that. And so that's a key part of our goal is, how do we do that? How to build strong coaches. One of the things that we want to do is build a stronger community. And so this is just to start bringing us together, build relationships. It's one of the reasons I like the online training. It gives us the ability to do class sizes. They're a bit smaller, so our trainers get a lot more interaction with you to invest in you more intimately and over a longer period of time, because relationship takes time. So those are our near-term goals, is how to do that. But like I said, really a big one is around building community. And so with that, what I want to do is we'll do a breakout. We've got we'll take about the next 10 minutes and we'll set up, we're going to have 3 breakout rooms. A third of you are going to stay in the main room. Roughly a third are going to go with Tony, and a third will go with Etienne. And just want to hear from each of you, what are you doing with your encounter coaching? What's your vision or goal with encounter coaching? And then how can we at MetaFormation help support you? What additional training, what kind of things would help you in you achieving that God-given vision that God's put inside of you? So we'll do that until, so it's 12:40. We'll do that until 10 minutes till. Off you go. And let's see. All right. And if it's okay, I'm going to leave the recorder on, if that's okay, because we are going to share it with the broader community, so you can kind of keep that in mind as you share. But I'll just so we move along, I'll start with Ken.
You're starting with, did you say my
Ken.
name?
No,
Oh,
Ken Stickle.
Okay, so currently I am like, how am I using encounter coaching?
Yeah, what's happening? Yeah, how are you doing it?
So, well, first of all, it's becoming me. So it's becoming part of my DNA, my presence, which is huge, I think. That place of conversations just with different people, to be able to bring that in, because I just, my desire, my heart's desire is that people would know how good God is and how he longs to talk to them, and all of that. So currently what I'm actually doing using it is in my circle every week through my church. I have a group of about 15 women, and it's so simple. We take the time. It's a question that I ask God for beforehand. What is it? And he gives me a question, and for 2 minutes we always meet with Jesus. And whenever we get stuck and it's quiet and something is not going on within a circle, we're learning to default to, you know what, this is God's circle and Holy Spirit is really moving here. So let's just ask Jesus, what do you want to say to us in this moment? And to watch people, I forgot who said that, but to watch people come alive with, oh my gosh, I really did hear. And for people to say, you did hear, and that is a piece that brings it all in for all of us together. So that's a huge thing. Yeah. So I'm at the tail end of my, I have just a little bit to go in my coaching training. And
Okay. Yeah.
that's where I'm at.
Cool. How about you, KO?
I have been known as a trauma coach. I work with a lot of people who have had childhood traumas and sexual abuse, domestic violence, which evolves into domestic violence, and then addictions and all that. So that's pretty much the circles I've been operating in for years, but then it's gone spread. So I found through interviewing clients, I found out that because I've never advertised, I always come word of mouth. And so how they come is they say, well, you should go see KO. She has this program. It's brutal, but it's worth it. You should go see her. And I'm thinking, why would anybody do that? Because I spent so much, probably the first 26 years of my Christian life trying to avoid pain. I definitely wasn't going to go look for it. But they come because they're desperate, I guess. And so watching, guiding them through that process, I operate as a participatory leader, so I'm doing my own process while they're doing theirs, and so I've just recently learned that that's the optimal way for adults to learn, is to have people who know more and people who know less in the same environment. So that's why it works. Some people I see one-on-one and in group, but group is pretty much where the magic happens, it seems. And but that it's like, it's been a frustration. It's like, God, we know how to create an atmosphere for you to show up, but we didn't know how to make that. I didn't know how to lead them in, because I didn't know how to. You know, I'm used to God giving me answers, but not right when I ask the question. I'm used to it taking 2 to 3 days for me to get what he's saying. And he still spreads it out. It's like a treasure hunt, you know, like little breadcrumbs, like on a Hansel and Gretel trail. And he drops clues. Even in this encounter coaching, he like sets us up for success by dropping these little clues, because he's kind and gentle. And so then when the big one comes, I'm more prepared for it, because he's given me little clues along the way, which shows me, yeah, I'm in here. I'm in this with you. You know, we've got this.
Yeah.
And then the faith, I'm really seeing right now how big the faith part is. As my faith grows that God's going to show up and answer, I believe for my people that God is going to show up and answer, and he does more. And it's been that way in my classes, but now it's that way in just asking simple little Jesus questions, which I love. And watching people go from broken, voiceless, like basket cases, to strong members in their little communities, that everybody in the community comes to them when crisis hits, because they don't lose it. They know how to manage themselves in stress and crisis. And I often tell them that whatever your pain pit is, God has he wants to transform that into a compassion reservoir. And so it doesn't matter how big your pain pit is. It just doesn't matter. And he does that. And it's a beautiful thing to be part of and watch.
Yeah.
And be part of.
Yeah. And maybe a question for both Kim and Kale. Would anything that comes to mind in terms of additional support, things that training that, for example, one thing I'm hearing a little bit maybe is around how to do this in groups.
Yeah, groups is powerful. And here's, if I can talk a little bit more, I'm also in another program that's marketing, because I want to take my classes online. And this is what I'm seeing in this group. So I'm like gleaning and sharing. One is we have what is called a family room every week, where different people meet every week, and we have an outline, a scripture, and then what questions, growth questions, and how are we interacting with that growth question in our life. And then we pray for each other. That is huge, because people are farther along the journey than we are, and there's people that are not as far along the journey. That is huge. And then they also, and then they have individual, like 15-minute clarity call every week. I had to pay for it, but every week I get a 15-minute clarity call, like, where are you at? What are you working on this week? What are you leaning into? That sort of thing. And I have never been part of an organization that has, it's like they are determined that they are going to do every single thing they can do to set us up for success. I just have never experienced anything like it before. It's beautiful.
That's good. I'll tell you what, we've only got a couple more minutes. Let's hear from Liv Kirsty.
Yes. The first time I heard about encounter coaching was through the book Invitation, and I was reading it because I thought this would be very good for people I coached before that was stuck in some of going after their dreams and goals. But I really soon found out that this is definitely something I need myself, even as much as the people I have coached. I'm now almost finished my coaching certification. I live in Norway, and this is something I think it's only one person in Norway that are certified in this program. And then I will be the second one. So it's definitely a need to get it to my country. And I would love to see some of the material translated into Norwegian, because I believe when you coach the heart, you need to speak your first language, because that's the language of your heart. So I have a lot of dreams. I don't know exactly my place in it, but I'm looking forward to go after that and see what God is doing with it. Yeah.
We'll definitely want to talk more. We've got somebody in the community who's in Taiwan, and he's translated at least one of, but he's done leadership coaching in Chinese and working on another one. So yeah, I love it. Yeah. Let's see, Kara. Well, I'm going to have to start closing the rooms here, but we'll give you the last minute.
Okay. How I'm using coaching, I'm integrating.
Yeah. And also maybe some of the support you talked a little bit earlier, but yeah.
So how I'm using coaching is integrating leadership coaching, because I've learned that long ago, and just integrating that into my career. So I was a innkeeper, so developing staff. Each season we had new staff, and that's how I was using it. My vision and goal is to have a community. I want access for everybody who's into this to get peer training and coaching. And so just to have an online community built where people can hop on anytime they need to and meet people and gain from that community. Yeah, that's my vision as well.
Yeah. And well, the rest of the gang's going to join us in about 30 seconds. What other thoughts about support? How can we help you?
Yeah, I think it's through, and you're already talking about it, and I've been talking with Ali about it, building that forum. I don't know another word for it, but that gives access to people who are going through the training and they want to be a part and they want to learn about it, and maybe trade coaching, peer coaching. Find your coaches there.
Yeah, awesome. That's good. Well, great. Welcome back, everybody. We want to keep us on time. What we want to do we're going to accumulate some of the notes that from each of you in terms of feedback. We'll put it into the notes, not only for this group, for the broader community in terms of some of the things that you fed back to us. But we want to share a little bit about some of our near-term plans and ambitions and initiatives, so that you, as kind of our inside group on our Encounter Coach community, are kind of first to hear about the things that we're thinking about. So with that, let me hand it to you, Etienne, maybe talk a little bit about the modules and what we're doing there.
Okay, sure. Thank you. So, yeah, all of you have experienced the training, the incredible training that I feel like God has gifted Tony with, the transformation and the experience that people have. But I think we felt like we don't only want people to have a wonderful experience when they go through the training, but we want to see them really equipped, that they'll be able to be confident and competent to use those skills to really see more people transformed. So because of that, we've kind of taken the training that Tony's developed and put them into different modules. We've also realized that some people that come to the training have never had any coaching experience or coach training before they come. So we've created module 1, which basically starts with the foundations of encounter coaching, that gives people just a foundation in just basic coaching skills. And then we've added what was used to be called transforming the heart, to the foundations of encounter coaching. And then we've added mentor coaching. So people are meeting in small groups with a mentor coach where they get to coach in front of other participants that's going through the training, as well as a mentor coach. So they coach for 30 minutes and then they get 15 minutes feedback on how they're doing, both on foundations as well as on the core tools from transforming the heart. And so then we've kind of put coaching the heart and living from the heart, as you probably know the workshop names. We've put those two together in module 2. And again, with the same emphasis, we want people to have the experience the transformation. We build in mentor coaching so that they get feedback, so that when they leave the training, they really feel, I can use this and I can do this with people, as a ministry in their business, wherever they can use that. We are actually in the process, because the feedback that we've received, because module 1 is 20 weeks long, module 2 is 28 weeks long. But many people feel like 28 weeks is a very long period of time. So we are in the process of, Kayo says no. Thank you, Kayo. That's encouraging feedback. So we are in the process of actually making module 2 into 20 weeks as well. We are working at not cutting out any material, but what we will do is we will take, you may remember at the end of your Living from the Heart, we had the section on the calling journey, which was put in there, but maybe not enough emphasis was even given there. So we are going to take that out of module 2 and put that with a module 3 that's going to have other material from relating from the heart. And the focus with module 3 will be on coaching leaders. So that will really equip you well with understanding the process that God takes leaders through and how to coach leaders. So that's in the process. The next module 2 that will start with the 20 weeks. Any questions or comments on what I said?
Is there any time on that module 3? Like
Yeah,
time
it could be,
when you think it start?
Yeah, we're hopeful that it'll be certainly in the first half of 2024.
Great.
Like I said, most of the content is developed. We just need to kind of put it together in a really concise way so that it flows well. I'm hopeful that it would be, maybe by March. Yeah, Kara.
Curious, the module 3, will that be required for certification then?
No, module 1 and module 2 would be the certification requirement, and then module 3 would sort of be above and beyond, kind of additional training. Yeah.
I don't know if I mentioned when I talked about module 2, in the same way as with module 1, we've built in mentor coaching that covers all the important tools from coaching the heart as well as living from the heart. So you get feedback on all the important tools that are covered, as well as with both cases, at the end of transforming the heart and at the end of coaching the heart and at the end of living from the heart, you have a final mentor coaching evaluation time where you spend 45 minutes coaching with a mentor coach facilitating feedback with you. So that's all in the hope of helping people grow in their skills, feeling confident and competent to really use this.
Are the in-person workshops going away? I've been doing the in-person. I'm going in November to Living, whatever that one is in November. I forget the name, but are those going away?
Good question. I think one of the things we'd like to do with in-person is to do a retreat or a conference that would incorporate not only training, but it would incorporate fellowship, some fun, some networking. And rather than having 24 hours of training content over 3 or 3.5 days, because one of the things we found, certainly I experienced it as well, is that when you take in that much information in that short a period of time, it's not great for learning. It's a great experience, but it's not good for learning because you because you just physically can't take in all that much information. And so then, so the idea of a retreat or conference would be having some training, but it wouldn't be so jam-packed with training. Yeah,
Sorry. Is there a place to do the reframing, writing the letters, the training? I'd heard that there had been some of that. Will there be any of that coming up?
Yeah. So one of the things that we do within Module 2 and what we call Living from the Heart is to do Heaven's Perspective stories. And as we grow and develop, we are going to need more story writers. And probably and we've got a story writer training developed. It needs a bit of work to be refined, but that would be something that we do. We definitely want to grow our capability and our capacity for story writing. So yeah, that's something to look forward to. And if that's something that you're highly interested in, let us know, and we can kind of put you on a wait list for that.
Thank you.
Let me share a little bit, some of our thoughts on Module 3 lead. It would include the calling journey content. And so, for example, the way you would coach somebody who's in the valley of dependence would be different than the way you would coach somebody who's in the valley of wholeness, which is different from the way you would coach somebody in a valley of identity, because they're going through and experiencing different things in those different seasons. And so we touched on that content before, but we never did it justice. So we want to expand that. One of the other skills that we taught in Relating from the Heart was around coaching relationships. When people are in challenging relationships or dysfunctional relationships, how do you coach people through that and meet Jesus through relational conflict? And so that would be another aspect of certainly what leaders will often experience as they're coaching their teams, or even coaching leaders as they're in conflict with their fellow leaders or their team. And those skills can also be applied to, challenging marriages or any number of things. So those are just a sampling of some of the skills that we hope to teach, that we plan to teach within Module 3 Lead. And again, largely the content is there. We just want to repackage it in a way that and ensure that the mentor coaching and all that fits with that, so we deliver a really high quality experience there. Another training, a new course that we're going to be launching in November, mid-November, which you'll be seeing shortly, is something we call Module B Build. And this is all around helping coaches build a coaching client base. It can be a full-time business, even if it's as a ministry. One of the principal challenges that coaches have is how to market themselves, how to present the value of what they do and what they bring, and to do that in a way that that's appealing. And so a big part of Module B Build is to help our coaches, develop the mindset and approach of how to market themselves well, but then also the practical aspects of building a coaching base, onboarding clients. How do you serve your clients well? What are some different ways of marketing? And one marketing approach doesn't suit all, because we have different personality and different skills. And so one of the things we do in Module B will be to, listen to each of the people that are in the class, and we keep the class sizes small so that we can help you customize a marketing approach that fits your personality, your skill, your opportunities. And to do that collaboratively and build mini communities. So the class sizes will be limited to 12. That it'll extend about 5 or 6 months. And then the vision is that over that 5 to 6 month period, if you're coming in, relatively stumbling on building your client base, by the end of it, you've got the systems and processes and mindset, to grow your coaching ministry. Another thing that we're going to be launching is an Encounter Coach community, a forum. We'll start it out as a free service. There'll probably be a small fee down the road, but the idea would be to make sure that it's got a high return on investment. But the idea would be for all of you and those like you who have been through our training, maybe they're in progress of getting certified or maybe already certified, to have a forum where you can connect with fellow encounter coaches. You can do peer coaching, reform cohort groups, or maybe you have a particular niche with encounter coaching that you want to develop. I'd like to get together with, for example, I do a lot of work cross-culturally. I would love to be able to learn how to do, and I'm learning how to do encounter coaching with people who aren't yet followers of Jesus in another culture. How can you do that? Well, I'd like to get together with 4 or 5 people, like-minded people. We could develop a learning lab together through the encounter coach community to do that well. Maybe it's a number of people that want to do encounter coaching for challenged or troubled marriages. They could come together as a community and a sub-community to learn how to do marriage coaching. But it's limitless. There are a number of things we could do in a community, and it'll be a private community. So we're not going to, do this within Facebook, which I find is a little distracting. So in a private forum where we can connect with one another, and then through that we'll offer, as we listen to you and find out what are the needs and special needs that you have as encounter coaches. Are there continuing ed training that we could do? Maybe it's a group coaching course. How to do encounter coaching as a group. We could launch a mini course on something like that. So those are all things that we'll do, develop within the encounter coach community. And then, so I see we're about out of time, and my voice is going out. And there's more things to come. And one of the things we're looking to do is kind of draw people from within the community to do things like, for example, to offer services like experience in encounter coaching. So for those who have progressed to a level, we could have an opportunity to market you as a coach, and so that people are thinking about encounter coach training, they could come to the website and experience it through one or some of you. Another is enrollment coaching. People are interested in the training. We want to train people. We don't want to sell to people. What we want to do is create a coaching conversation with people who are interested in encounter coaching and to coach them into our community. Hear their vision. Are we a good fit for them? If not, we can refer them or direct them to other training that might fit. But if they are a good fit, we can help them enroll into our training and enroll into our community. So those are a few things that we're working on. With that, I want to keep us on time. If you have to jump off, by all means do that. But we can stick around for a few more minutes for anyone who has further questions.
Maybe just to quickly. Sorry, Kim.
Sorry, go ahead, 18.
No, I just wanted to say, those of you who took notes from the discussion times, please make sure to get that to us. Maybe email it to Todd, or we'd love to get those. Thank you. Thanks, Kim.
I just have a quick question on before we could audit a course for like $100. Is there auditing within the new, framework?
Yeah, it not really, in large part because of the way we've integrated the mentor coaching, and because we work in closely within the cohorts, that it would be it's a little bit disruptive, and we because of the cost of the mentor coaching, we certainly couldn't do it for $100 when all it was just the training part of it. But one of the things that we do want to do is provide continued training opportunities, and And I think there are probably ways that people that have been through our training, how do we help you to continue to grow in training and to do that in a way that may be more effective? And that's some of the things we can do through the Encounter Coach community.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
I was going to ask a question
Lena.
about the best way to keep up to date with all of this is just the emails, right? There's not another place you guys are putting information out, like as that's the primary way you're communicating it.
Yeah, it's
correct?
through the emails, and then increasingly within the enrollment or the Encounter Coach community, particularly for those who are sort of in the inner circle, have been through the training. We'll also, use that as a community source as well, or communication source.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah, Sarah.
This is kind of off topic or not the right time, but I've been trying to ask Tony about the differences between Ignatian spiritual direction and this, because I'm struggling with that, and I wanted to see if maybe I could have a brief conversation with him about that sometime. I've had a conversation with a few people, but I haven't really worked out the questions that I have.
Yeah. Well, Tony jumped into his next meeting, so he's not here. But yeah, I mean, you could always, you could put it into an email to Tony at MetaFormation.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Also, I don't know if he was recording this and y'all are going to put it together later. What a part of the vision, he asked us what our vision was, and I didn't say this part, but it's actually what I'm most passionate about is I want to bring living from the heart to impoverished communities.
Okay. Bring living from the heart to impoverished communities. Okay. Yeah, that's something we can, we can talk about. Thank you.
I'm going to jump off because I have an appointment.
Yeah, that's fine. Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you bet.
Bye.
Other comments, questions?
What question? When will module 3 possibly be? Is that later in next year?
Yeah, I'm hoping that it'll be, I'm gonna throw out March as a good target date. That to be able to offer it at about that time.
And about the cost for that would be approximately?
We're trying to keep all of our modules under 2,000. So I would say, if I were to guess, it'd be like $1,900. As we're kind of refining things, and that incorporates the mentor coach sessions, and that kind of a format, the 20-week kind of format. As we've been experimenting with it this year, is feeling pretty good. We're getting good feedback from that approach, and it gives us enough time so that by the end of 20 weeks, as we measure people's skill with the final mentor coaching session, that's the important feedback for us as we're sort of designing the training is the quality of the coaching that we see at the end. And the reality is, I know even in my own experience, it takes that much time. Because what this way of coaching and building conversations is so different than the way I think virtually all of us have been trained.
And question about module B as in build, when might that materialize?
Yeah, that one we're planning for mid-November.
Okay. This year.
And you'll see something come out on that fairly soon. And I think a few of you, we did a pilot in the spring. So we've taken that learning, kind of built out a 5-month course that that allows people to actually build their business during the time, so that so they have the accountability and the support as they kind of go through it step by step.
Is that the material that Matthew helped bring?
Yeah, it'll be based on that. We've got some new content that we're developing as well. So for those that went through the pilot, there'll be a little bit of review, but quite a bit of, we're trying to bring in some new content as well.
Just have to say, great job, you guys, Etienne and Todd and Tony and Jason and all the people behind here. I'm hearing, all that you're building. I'm experiencing what you have already put in place. I'm in module 1 right now, but and then you're asking for more. Having this meeting, and great job.
Thank you.
I see beautiful fruit from all the work that you are putting into this. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you, Cara.
Good. Looks like Liv Kirsty, you had a question?
Yeah. No, I just wanted to say a thank you as well. I know all the books that Tony has written has been such a blessing to me personally and to a lot of people, and I think a lot of more. And I feel like what he has poured into these books is not just what he has. It's not just a curriculum, but it's his life. It's something that he's living out in his own life. So I really want to give that thanks to him and to you who are developing this into the new steps, so we could even get it farther out and even more practical, so we can learn this and share it with others and live it ourselves. So thank you very much, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Good. All right. Well, thanks again for your time. All right. All the best.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you.
You bet. Thanks, Jim.
Thanks.